What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, club swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. Hope you had a good little rest day. Eventually, I kind of want like a 5 day work week back again. Like, could we just be open for 5 days? I don't know if that's too much to ask, but we are back. We are back. I think next week, providing any craziness, we might get our first full 5 day week in a while, which is good. I like it. Maybe get a little flow going. Not so much craziness, but we'll see. We got Alan in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Albert, Anna. Good morning to Bill, Brad. We got Chris. Good morning to Frank, GWJ, Justin, Carl, Marcus, Peter, Shane. We got Wendy. You guys are still piling in. I love it. All my people out on YouTube land. Good morning to all you. Mustafia, did I say that correct? Good morning to you. He's saying, hey, first one to comment on YouTube. I love it. We should have prizes. We should. Leonard, good morning. He's saying it's cold out. It is cold. It is cold out there. Clarice, good morning to you. Brian, good morning to you as well. If you ain't first, you last. Ricky Bobby, I'm loving it. All right. But we'll see what we had two numbers that came out this morning already. I think we still got consumer sentiment numbers at 10, so just be aware less than an hour we get a little bit more data coming in, but otherwise, payrolls increased, which means more companies are paying, which means that they have to pay more people and more people are working. And then that's also backed up by some job numbers, which the unemployment rate dropped. And we're back into some good news for the overall economy, but bad news for the stock market. That does not give too much incentive to JPAL to drop some interest rates, and we're right back to where Jerome Powell kind of warned us. He kind of threw out on that last meeting this big dip from December 18th that they're looking at low or maybe quite a bit fewer lower rate cuts for 2025, and this data is kind of flowing in the direction of Jerome Powell for now. So good news and bad news. Bad news is we're starting with the gap down. Good news, we are at a really interesting support. So I have somewhere around 543.34, looking for that to hold. That's right into this previous pivot. It is a retest gap technically. So we had um, this candle from, man, I can't get my days straight. This is Wednesday. Last candle from Wednesday was a gap down. It was a retest. So we'll see how this one wants to, even though it's a green candle, I think we might have some bids coming in, some people placing some orders. It would be an interesting area to try. I think you have decent risk to reward down here. Again, doesn't mean we're popping out and going crazy to a bullish direction. But if I get into something here at some decent support for a try, I got one more level to maybe hold me up if we come down a little bit further. That would be somewhere around 581.65 and having my stops maybe underneath that candle from January 2nd would give me an interesting opportunity. Doesn't look like that's the way the market's flowing, but it all comes down to risk reward. So you do have that kind of built in a little bit, some decent support we could hang into. We also have that 100 creeping up a little bit. All of those levels that I just gave you, we've already come down there. We've already messed with all those levels. They are a little bit easier to break. And there's a looming gap fill from back in November 5th, with a support level somewhere built in around 575.61. So we do have some more room to the downside. Interesting spot for some bulls that want to try to take a stab if they're going to try to get this thing bid up. But for right now, we're at the lower end of what appears to be some kind of just sideways shop that we're just kind of hanging out, waiting. We'll see how this market goes. But market's not loving the fact that maybe interest rates aren't coming down as quickly as they thought, as little as maybe 2 months ago. We will see. Q's still hanging in there. I think at the very, very low of Wednesday's candle. Yep, the absolute lowest possible spot on Wednesday's candle you could get. Maybe we get another penny or two. Other than that, the next we have one support from back here. I think at this point it's weak. We did already hold that one on Wednesday. Probably a breakable spot. Maybe we come up for a retest. If we do, there's a few levels of resistance in between, but otherwise I'd be looking for 514.20 to the support side of things. If we start to break the next level, I'm looking to see if we could try to hold and just again just chop around a little bit, 509.25. So it doesn't look like we have an entirely just wide open runway where we get some drastic craziness drops. We're probably getting, I think, to some extent, we probably actually do recover a little bit. Doesn't mean that we don't recover and then drop, which would make a lot of sense. So we'll see. Still a little bit in a chop atmosphere with a little bit more momentum. I think longer term to the bearish side of things. The one thing that's really concerning me is TLT not looking good whatsoever. So those numbers came out for the interest rates, for the unemployment rates and the payroll, and TLT just got absolutely clobbered really quick. Uh, I'm gonna cheat here and say it's at a yearly low because we've only had like 10 days. So I could probably go with most things on that. Otherwise, you have a little volume zone that's coming in here, 84.51 to $84. We'll see if any of that could hold. In terms of gap fills, we did close a gap from all the way back in November 1st of 2023. So that's a big gap that was just sitting out there. That one's finally closed. Maybe we could run into a little support. I don't see the support quite yet, but maybe a little bit lower. And maybe we even got there pre-market for 84 or 45-ish. Somewhere in that zone. We'll see if that could hold. If not, there's some warning signs out there in the bond market. We will see. Joe says AMD buy the dip, AMD more downgrades. I don't know if they had more downgrades, but on Wednesday after the market closed, and this is going to go for Nvidia as well, Joe Biden announced that he is looking to restrict further chip sales. So we'll pull up AMD first. So just not good for the chip sector. Again, how important is the news? I don't know. For now, that's bad news that they're not going to be able to sell as many chips to China. But what happens in 10 days from now? Does all of that just get reversed? Is it meaningless? Is it a short-term thing, new administration, and then policies change? I would think they do to some extent. So I don't know if this is a long-lasting thing, but you did have a negative news for the chip sector from the White House right after the bell rang on Wednesday. That kind of came out, and after hours, Nvidia and AMD were dipping a little bit. That being said, is it a buy opportunity? I don't know. I think eventually. Right now, we still have a downtrend. This is not looking like a great open whatsoever for AMD. I'm looking now for resistance somewhere around 119.37. I think if you own shares, I would go a couple weeks out and I would be continuously selling covered calls against it. I don't think there's a huge bounce coming very, very quickly, but I think there'll be some kind of a bounce. I do think, and even Nvidia at these levels that we're at now, and again, valuations are they're kind of creeping up a little bit. I think Lisa Su was just named CEO of the year from Time Magazine, so that's kind of fun, a little fun fact. But there's a major level that these bulls would probably look to hold and maybe we get a little at least recovery bounce. I don't know if that's a long lasting bounce, but somewhere around 117.60, I'd be looking to hold for some kind of bounce. If we break that, you almost have a clear flush into like 112.87, so we'll call it 113. I got another one below 110, which the Goldman Sachs downgraded them into a 110 category. The other firm, I forget which one it was, but they were also sitting at 110. And then huge volume somewhere around 107.84. I think if you're slowly buying in to AMD and Nvidia and it's something that you could sit on, you're not just all in on margin. If it's cash secured, I don't think you'll probably regret buying these companies at some of these levels. They're well off the highs. I mean, especially AMD, well off the highs. Let's take a look real quick on Nvidia, which is also down a little bit today. And they were holding up a little bit better. It's pretty hard to look when I think I threw these lines on here for the class I taught yesterday. Appreciate everyone joining me for that class too. That was a fun one. Fun little get together on a day off. Nvidia. So this one is down again. We are below the entire price action of Wednesday. hanging on to a little support. If you do break this one, you got one right next to it. That's 136.44. And then I got all the way down to like 135.36. I think we still have we had a looming head and shoulders that was all negated. So now it's more of a double top. So we'll see what happens on these things. It doesn't mean it can't come down further, but if you're dollar cost averaging, if you're slowly buying it, there's still strong companies. Sales are still good. And then again, no matter what Biden says about restricting chips, in 10 days, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Frank says, very good class. I appreciate that. Yep, that's awesome. But we got Nvidia slowly down. This is a retest gap for today. The one thing to be concerned with, even if you are buying the dip, if this thing does hold here for a day trade at least, you have that 50 right in front of you, 50 EMA, somewhere around 137.56. So just not a ton of room. If you get through it, I don't really see one level over here, which is kind of interesting. This might take us back into that 138.61 for a day trade. Extended targets take us to about 139.02. If you could really retest this thing, if this market wants to flip, which I don't have a reason, unless consumer sentiment numbers come out and the market loves it. Maybe there's a little spark that could light the fire. And that maybe gets you to about this 140, and that would be my probable absolute max on this play in a bullish direction for this retest. But we do have some support. We'll have to see where this one opens. We did the high wave class yesterday. This might be an interesting opportunity for a high wave if we could get it. Indecision right at a key spot, be able to take the break either way of this. I'd be down with either of those. So we'll see what happens, but a little congested to the downside with some support just almost everywhere. A little bit more room to the bullish side on a retest gap. So we'll see what comes in on this. And there was obviously a whole lot of selling coming in. I prefer this thing to bounce, but we'll see what happens. We got Square SQ. Retest gap, 3 days of selling, not a tremendously strong open whatsoever. I think this one probably gets a retest. The true retest on this one would take you up to 86.96. I don't think we get there. The next level, maybe we can squeeze into, if this retest is a strong one, is 86.53. I don't, I wouldn't want to bank on that one either. Small retest into like 85.91 to try to attempt to go short. I think that might be enough of a retest on Square. You do have a lot of room on this one down to probably 83, 89, which stretch targets out to like 83.46. So I like the room that you have on this one to the downside. I would love to see a little bit of some profit taking at open. I think would be very, very interesting. I don't know if I want to see too much of it, but watch this 85.91 zone. See if we get some kind of alerts that go off there. And then I would think the direction with this open, that looks very, very weak. I think we get some continued selling. And again, if interest rates are a fear, Square, PayPal, SoFi, not the uh, not the best environment is because we haven't had the discussion yet. We've only been talking about, yeah, okay, less rate cuts. What if the what if the narrative switches to rate hikes? Oh, nobody's got that one priced in yet. Mm-mm-mm. Pretty crazy. Carvana, CVNA. These guys, it's almost like upgrade. They had the Hindenburg report somewhere back here. Came out. Somebody's not believing their numbers, and then the other day we got almost like two upgrades on them back to back. So it's kind of a mixed bag of fighting of who you believe. Other than that, retest gap for sure. You're about 50-50 in between the support resistance. So at open, you're going to flip a coin, and I'd probably bank on the buy it first. I don't know if there's that much room where you have to really get excited in a coin toss scenario. I'd almost let it do its thing. So if it opens and then drops down to 185.37, then I'd probably look to see if you could build a little support there, see if you get some kind of a bounce. If this thing, which I would prefer to get bought up at open, run it up into this 198.17 zone, and that's a better spot to look for a short. But you do have you can make some money either direction on this one. Um, but it's going to be hard to get your stops in place for an actual real stop. So I would let it do its thing first, and then whichever way it bounces, you're probably trying to play the fade the opposite direction at open. We will see. Clarice says Disney. Yeah, Anthony's. I was looking at like some of the celebrities' houses that burned down, Anthony Hopkins is one of them. I don't know why. I guess your name Clarice just reminded me of that. So he's Hannibal Lecter. Like, hello, Clarice. You know, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I just things pop in my head. It's a problem, but we'll fix it. We'll get to it. Disney is. I thought there was some Disney news. Hold on a second. I saw a headline on CNBC before. I think it was something to do with their streaming service. See if I can still find it. I don't see it anymore. Maybe it's in Trading View. Yeah, something with their live streaming. Warner Bros. Discovery, Disney unit, Fox scrap plans to launch venue sports streaming service. I don't even know what that is, but so that's off the table. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure what venue sports streaming service is. Sounds like they're all in on it though. Interesting. Nobody told me. We got Disney. Disney is gapping up a little bit on the news. So it looks a little different than the market. It's still inside candle. You got about halfway through this candle, somewhere around the 110 zone, also psychological whole number. I think if you are going to try to, it is going different in the market, so maybe you want to stick in the bullish direction on it. And maybe that is good news. Maybe they don't spend as much, or maybe they're able to retain. I think out of that entire deal, if it's a sports deal, Disney owns a lot of already sports broadcasting channels. I think they'd probably be the bigger player in that entire deal anyway. So maybe they are able to retain a little bit more profits and as opposed to kind of some kind of a split. But if this one bounces down, see if this one kind of falls, see if you got the 109.71 as some kind of support. Maybe one to consider in the long direction though. Give it a little time. See if we get a little pullback first, get a little bit better of our pricing, but maybe that might be good news for Disney. We'll see. Not bad. Goldman Sachs downgraded AMD today. I thought the downgrade came in the other day. Okay. Could you check Seven and I Holdings stock share? There's news. Give me a ticker. Ticker is 3382. You know, when I was in kindergarten and I threw numbers into my alphabet and they told me I was wrong, now we got tickers with numbers in it. This is crazy. I was right the whole time. Uh, Seven and I Holdings. What is the news on this one? We got stock share. There is news of a takeover bid here. Um, I have no idea what this. Oh, is this something Japanese? Yeah, I have no idea what this is. Right now, I don't really see any price action, any moves. Obviously a big massive candle. Is this one from today? Yes, this is today. This is live now. Yeah, so this looks like it's live now. Good candle, bullish engulfing, possible decent breakout. First resistance, which we already run into, is 25.32. The next spot up 25.60, and then you're looking for like a 2600. But I don't know anything about this company, so take all that with a grain of salt. It looks like it already kind of reacted right off that 100. Otherwise, good bullish engulfing candle. I'd see where this one kind of closes and then kind of go from there. But I've never traded this one. Yeah, I didn't even know we could have tickers with numbers. This is fun. I like it. I like it. But yeah, I can't be much help on that one. But I'd have to see, I guess, kind of what that deal is too. Yeah, but it's not a. I thought maybe it's like an ETF, like ETF or currency or something, but it's not. 3382. Let me just pull it up again. Seven, and I'm guessing that's I Holdings. Yeah, it's a holdings company. I don't know if it's ETF type thing. Very, very unfamiliar with this one, but pretty cool for bringing it to my attention. Tesla. Tesla. Uh, Not a great open. Yep. Last night, and I think the Ford CEO last night tweeted or X'd or whatever they do now. I don't know. I'm old, so I don't know what they do. I'm from the 1900s. I don't really get technology anymore. That's it. I've just thrown the towel in. So tweeted X. whatever the case. But they did run right right as soon as the future started opening and the stock started running up. I think we hit like 400 again, got very close to it at least. Depending on what screen you're looking at. I think in TOS this thing got up to like 402. Looks like on TradingView it was at 399. So we had a run up, but the CEO tweeted that the he thought that Tesla's FSD was the correct way to go, correct strategy. So people kind of loving that one. It has given it all back. The market is down today, so any good news is probably going to be faded overall by the overall sentiment of the market, which is why we keep the SPY on the chart at all times too, just to see if the market kind of agrees, which would help plays. But it was looking good last night. It has given it all back. We were watching this close very, very closely. It closed right into a resistance. And then today we're still inside day candle, which means that we probably have some chop at open. I'm not loving the open on this one. So I think if we could get any push back into, my guess would be somewhere around 393.66. I don't know if we run it up to like 395.19, but that is the bigger resistance now on this. So I would see inside day candle. If you get some bids starting to come in, get us at least into 393.66. To the downside, I think we have a decent amount of room to run. We've been watching 385.67. We got close to it. We got to, I don't even believe this one, but I thought we got to like yeah, low 387s on Wednesday. Not quite hitting that resistance. But I have 385 as my next support. We got kind of close to this one the first time. Maybe this is the time today that we could do it. But that would give us about $6 to the low side from the open. If you could get it in about $2 higher, it gives you just a little bit better risk reward on this one. But I like it. We got ADBE, Adobe. Yeah, they were getting. I think I threw a message out on Slack this day. I'm like, this one kind of looks like a rough gap down. Just clearing all previous pivots. We actually came up. We retested almost perfectly into that previous VPOC. Yep, to the penny. And it does look like it's got some downward pressure. So that might be a decent one to short. I've got nothing holding this thing up. Maybe a little support comes. Maybe you might have a little tiny support in here. Nothing crazy. 414.83. That starts to break. I got all the way down to like 397.34. Plenty of runway on this one. Uh, in terms of like the amount of room to the downside, that one's got an absolute tremendous amount. So far, out of all the stocks that we've looked at today, at least. This is a retest gap, so it's a little bit weaker. I wouldn't treat this one so much like a gap and go. Maybe this one could get some chop first and then break down. Maybe we get that high wave candle we talked about in class. I would be on board with that one too. But I do like that one to the downside. I think it's got some weakness ahead of it. I got Occidental. Well, what's crude futures? I thought crude was running a little bit. Yeah, so we got again, this is going to be negative for the markets. You got TLT down, you got payroll increasing, you got unemployment numbers decreasing, all negative signs for inflation, and then one of the key factors for inflation, which is crude, is running bullish. I don't know. Those inflation numbers, we might be setting up for a second spike, and then if we start throwing some tariffs on top, ooh, Oxy, Oxy with a decent little bounce. We got one little resistance we're opening, so maybe we get that quick fade on this one. First support 51.95. If you do start to break through, I'd say about 52.25. You have a decent amount of room to run continuation bullish up to 53.28. So this one's got some room to run, and then ultimately I think you get back to like this 54.19 zone, but probably not today. It does trade a little choppy sometimes. But I would be bullish on Oxy, maybe just not at right out of the gate. See what kind of pattern sets up first, and then this would be technically some retest gaps too into a resistance. So maybe can get a little bit of a pullback and then a much better support 5150 if you could get it, but not bad, not bad. SANA, Sana Biotech. Yeah, this one's just hanging out. Obviously, some news came out on Wednesday for it. Already ran massively from 171 to some point in the day, running up to $7.29, as you would expect biotech to do. And right now we're just chilling. So, whatever the news was on this one, the news is already out. So now it's all just the aftermath of where do we go from here? Very tough sometimes on this biotech, but if the pattern's set up, you could probably play it. I don't know if I'd be going bullish as long as as long as it's going to hang out above 486. I would continue to maybe look bullish and you maybe get a decent run up to like 610. If you start breaking that 484, look for the retest lows of the day with a potential to kind of break that 200 down and maybe a bigger sell off. But right now it is above the 200. I'd remain slightly to the bull side. Problem with this one is it has run a lot already. DAL, nice pop on earnings. Yeah, there you go. Nice pop there. Retest gap. Do we have any resistance? We've got a little bit of congestion up here. Almost so much congestion that we might have to start charging like New York City does. Some of you got it. Some of you guys are West Coasters, and you're like, what? But we have potential retest down here into resistance. I think this one probably ends up fading, especially with overall market sentiment to the negative side. Very tough day to report earnings, even if they are good. If you start to break, I think watch this level up here, 65.19. If you could break that, your next stop will take you to probably a pretty quick move up to 66.80. So you have a few levels on that one, but I think it is a tough day to report earnings for right now. Unless in 30 minutes, consumer sentiment comes out, changes the entire narrative and market around. Otherwise, that morning bell is about to ring. So, everybody on YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe buttons. You guys are absolutely incredible. Uh, we have another 2 days off. Another 2 days off. We'll catch you guys on